Welcome to Owner Optional, the podcast for business owners who want companies that run without them. I'm James, your host. I've been a small business consultant all across the country for about 10 years now, and I've been a small business owner myself for about 20. Together, we break down how to build real businesses, not jobs, so that they can become assets that can grow, scale, be sold, and ultimately run without you. If you want freedom, leverage, and long-term value, you're in the right place. For more information, you can visit our website at lotuspe.us. That's lotuspe.us. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show. Today I'm joined with my friend Rob Faber from Rob Faber Photography, and today we're going to talk about business branding and call to action. And Rob's been working with us for a long time on different types of media development, creating videos. He works with our marketing company, Northbound Media. That's Devin, and really helps us create a pretty cool look. Helps us get some really high quality, consistent looking photos and things, and helped us become aware of a lot of things that we were doing wrong as we were kind of beginning to grow this plan. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, James. Good seeing you, buddy.
What's going on, man?
Not too much, man. It's the holiday season. It's winding down to Christmas.
What does that do for photography?
You typically it ramps up. The weeks coming, up to Christmas. Right now, it's trying to kind of nail down the end of the year stuff and get the clients back, which for the most part right now, anybody need anything for Christmas, everybody's got their stuff. But it's a lot of going into the slower season, which I always look forward to after the fall.
The slower season, when does that kind of end for you?
So slow season, we'll go anywhere from Christmas, New Year's to really about a month, maybe. I always say it's slow just because I don't have a whole lot on my calendar, but what happens is this is really when headshots, branding sessions ramp up.
Why is that? Businesses have money to spend at the end of the year.
I think they have
new year,
money to
new
spend.
goals.
Yeah, I think they have. I think they've got money to spend. I think they've. They kind of look at like New Year's resolutions and what can we change for the for the new year. Oh my gosh, we got to update our headshots, and man, our website can use a revamp. So I get a lot of those like, oh, are we? Sorry. Are you booked out? This and that, and it's kind of like I'd like to say I'm booked out, and I'll often give the well, I can fit you in next week.
Sure.
Which gives me time to plan, time to communicate with them, rather than jumping right in and trying to fix things later.
Faber, how'd you get into photography? And then obviously you do a lot of other media stuff too, video and different things. How'd you get into all of that?
Yeah, great question. It started back, when my kids were born, and I just was never happy with the point and click cameras, and as they started to move and as they started to crawl and run and stuff, it was like, oh man, like I can't really. I always had a good eye and a good appreciation for really good photos, and I always wanted to figure out how to get it, and I just couldn't do it with the old point and clicks. And then I was in the fire department in Warehouse Point for a bunch of years, and then we had a department photographer that was just a genius with what he was capturing. And I just latched onto him, and he taught me everything he knew, and sold me my first DSLR, and off I went.
What's a DSLR for those that don't know?
Digital single lens reflection. Yeah.
It's a nice camera.
It's a mid-level camera. I'm so into the mirrorless now. Now that basically when you look through the the viewfinder, you have a set of mirrors in there that then shows you the picture through the lens, right? Detachable lenses, things like that. And so that's where they get the single lens reflector. But then now we have mirrorless, which is all LCD screens and just crazy technology.
High quality. Yeah. I mean, you were instrumental in getting me into photography many years ago. And then obviously a lot of our friends that have even begun to create smaller companies around doing that as well, man. You're very talented at what you do, and I'm happy that you're here with me today because part of us doing this podcast was you. It was one of your ideas, and you felt that we should go and begin to kind of tell the story of this and how you help us with our company and how we help you with your company and how we all kind of work together. And today I want to get your opinion on something that is a real big talking point, and a lot of people don't necessarily understand the difference between call to action and brand building. And so a lot of owners think that marketing is just getting the phone to ring. What's the difference between building a brand and running a call to action marketing campaign?
So building a brand it goes a lot deeper. It's a lot more about, you as, the face behind the business, building trust, building a reputation, call to action, telling the consumer exactly what you want them to do. Right. And what I've learned is that you have to be very, very deliberate. In order for them to take that action though, they need touch points. They need to see you, see your face, your brand, your name, hear hear about your reputation multiple times. I think, you had told me, it used to be 8 times. You need 8 touch points. And then
I think it's way over 20 now. Yeah. Way over 20 now.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's funny. I also teach high school business, and all the literature that I could use is older, right? It's pre big social media, online marketing things, and the age we're in now, and that's where they were like, yeah, you need 7 to 8 touch points, right? They need to see your stuff 8 times. But the market's so saturated, right? There's so many things out there.
Everything is an ad now. If you're on social media, it's just one constant ad and like 2 of your friends.
Yeah. And I mean, remember when, internet, first came out, it was pop-ups everywhere, right? Like you couldn't get rid of them. Now we have, pop-up blockers. So who knows how much, like we don't even know how much is being blocked from us already. Like thankfully, but to the point that, there's so many ads out there, so many opportunities to reach people, that you have to stand out. You have to be different. You've got to be unique. You've got to offer something that somebody else, not that they can't, but that they're not willing to
do. You think that's more about like a culture too? Because people do business with people at the core of it, right? Isn't that the point of the brand in general?
100%, yeah.
People, you want them to do business with you and your culture. And, the other thing too that we've noticed is that, like you just described a couple different types of cameras, and this newer one I'm sure is even more expensive because you want to deliver a much higher quality product. What do you think that call to action? So like in your instance, or in auto repair, it'd be like a $15 oil change. For you, I think we were talking about it the other day. We saw an ad in like a newspaper for a guy that's doing headshots, and all the headshots looked really pretty awful. And he was advertising this low dollar special on these headshots. But then a high quality photographer is going to have a better quality camera, better quality, maybe even experience, studio, all of that stuff. It costs money. And so what does that do for you if you run call to action versus a brand campaign?
So the big thing with the call to action is, trying to get them to act on identifying a problem, right? There's nothing wrong with, that ad and that photographer, right? And it's not, this probably better than most. It's not necessarily, the equipment doesn't make the result, right? The better equipment makes it easier, to work with, but you have to appreciate it as well, right? Coming from a low level, point and click to, a mid-range DSLR to now working with mirrorless that's got the, automatic eye focus, is a game changer. But if I were to start with that high end, I wouldn't have appreciated it. Right. So, going back and thinking of, maybe his equipment's fine. Maybe his equipment's, as good as mine. Right. But the headshots look like everybody else's headshots. Right. And so
just more of the same.
It's just more of the same. And so when it's more of the same, well, what are people going to, compare based on? If everything's the same, now they're going to compare on price. And that's why you have to drop your price in that case, which I do the opposite. I raise my prices. I'm priced, 6 times higher, than that guy. I'm sorry. No, what was this? 60?
I think he was $60 for a headshot, but they looked like a $60 headshot.
Yeah. Working with me, for basic portrait sessions, I started at $850. For a headshot session, I actually started at $450, and that's for one image. That doesn't mean you come in and it's one click and here you go, you're done, get out. That would be a $60 experience, right? For me, we're sitting there. I tell people prepare for a half an hour up to an hour and a half. If it takes 2.5 hours, I'm fine with it, because my brand is all about setting myself apart with the experience. When you come into the studio, it's professional. I shoot tethered. So as I click that camera and put you in all these different poses and coach you through everything, you see those results show up right on the monitor. You don't have to wait 3 weeks to hopefully, pray that you got a good one.
Yeah, maybe
right?
see it. Yeah, I mean, when we were starting out many years ago, I remember one of the first 2 marketing campaigns I did were a disaster. So the first one I did, I was open for maybe a couple weeks, and we didn't have a lot of money or anything, and I spent maybe $150 or something like that. And I created a Word doc that was basically, this low dollar oil change special, maybe like $12.99 or something like that for an oil change. It was even below our cost on the material, never mind the cost of our time. And I went up the street to, I believe it was Pip Printing at the time, and I printed out like a few hundred of these flyers, and they were like on bright yellow, just normal paper, and it was a Word doc basically. And then I went to Century Center in West Springfield, big plaza. He's taking a picture right now. And
you got to document, man.
You got to see it. Yeah. And so I go over to Century Center in West Springfield, and I walk through the whole parking lot, and I put these yellow flyers on everybody's windshield. And I remember I went back to my first shop, and I sat down, and I had this just incredible like feeling in my heart that it was just like such a sense of accomplishment that I had done this, and I was just waiting for the calls to roll in, and they rolled in pretty quick. They really did. And so I think the first call I got was like, if you ever put something on my windshield again, I'll break your arms or something, like some crazy, and the rest of the calls all followed that way, followed by one like a day later. And they were like, you got to come over here and pick all this crap up,
That's funny. That's funny.
And so then, and then another one I did after we had moved out of that location. We were in our first location for about a year, and we outgrew it. Fortunately, not through my marketing efforts. It was more word of mouth at the time, and it was a smaller shop, 2 bays. So when we moved to our next shop, which is in Springfield, Mass, it's now that building is demolished. It was in the footprint of the tornado that hit us June 1st, 2011.
Yep.
A couple weeks or 2 weeks before our oldest daughter was born. And so what happened when that tornado came through, it destroyed a lot of buildings, and it gave some developers an opportunity to buy some land up and put a casino there. And that building that I rented at that time got demolished as part of that. It's under the footprint of the casino now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And so in any event, the MGM casino. And so in any event, when I first moved to that building, I went and I spent another couple $100, and I got this big banner, and it was like $12.99 or $13.99 oil change special. And we really filled the bays with it. But the problem was it totally attracted the wrong customer. They didn't care about our service. And so how we would assimilate that to you is like your higher quality camera, and you have such a beautiful studio and all this lighting and everything. And you've taught me photography is really all about lighting,
right.
for the most part, and the posing and everything else. And it costs money to do that. It costs money to deliver the higher quality product. Just like in auto repair, you want to have the right equipment, the right lifts, never mind the quality of the person working on the vehicle that you want. And so you have to have all of these amenities and things because, they begin to appreciate that. You want to deliver a higher quality result. And what would happen was there's like this line of traffic down the street, in theory, that's coming in, and we're not making any money off any of it. These cars are coming in, they're absolutely destroyed. The wheels are falling off them, suspension unsafe, all kinds of problems. And no one wanted to fix any of their cars. They just came in for the cheaper oil change. So it was very early on that we realized that call to action wasn't necessarily going to work for us. It would fill the bays, but you don't have any sense of satisfaction like you had done something at the end of the day because you just let a bunch of cars go out there for at least another 3,000 miles, totally and completely unsafe with your family and everything on the road. And so one of the things that we had done that changed us over from call to action to brand was I got a coach early on, and they really began to help me understand my business and understand what I needed to be doing. And then you were also instrumental in that too. And so what we decided to do at that point was stop with call to action and just begin to tell people the problem that we solve and help them understand our culture a lot more and understand more about our business and begin to just kind of educate. And so most of the content that we put out for really any of our businesses, actually all of the content is either charitable, hey, we're doing this, come in and bring in your food donation or your jacket donation or something like that, or it's, hey, this is our guy or our girl, these are our people, and this is the problem they're solving, and this is something that you can watch out for, whether it be seasonality or just different time of year, you're going on a drive, these are things that you should look for. Hey, it's getting cold out, Tom Brady didn't go and deflate your tires. This happens and the pressure lowers a little bit. Sorry, Tom Brady, if you're listening, Tom Brady, I hope he is, Right. And so, it's
all good. It's all good.
Yeah. I think the closer we're going to get is Brady, your son, And so in any event, we began to just focus more on us and our people using the logic that people do business with people.
Yeah.
And it's a slower burn, but boy, is it a hotter burn. It's like moving a boulder. It takes a couple minutes to get that thing moving, but once it does, you can't stop it. And for us, it's always right person, right message, right person, right time.
Yep.
Maybe they don't need us today, but they need us tomorrow. And so if we're consistently delivering a high quality message, we can consistently attract a high quality customer. And that's another reason why we don't typically have a problem with like customers coming into our business. We get seasonality slow ups here and there. Like today it's December 23rd. And so this week is okay, but New Year's will historically be a slower time. But again, if they don't need you, it doesn't matter how much you put out there, you're not going to get them.
And you're in the business of solving problems. Like what you do here, in any shop is people come to you when they need you, right? They don't come to you, out of luxury. They don't come to you because they feel like, you know what? Like my car could, maybe just needs an oil change, or maybe needs new struts.
It'd be great if my car broke down today, right? Wouldn't it be awesome if my car broke down and I had to get inconvenienced and towed down to some auto repair shop? Man, that would be awesome, huh?
And there's a lot of places that can do it, right? Yeah. And it's the same thing with photography. Like a lot of people out there can take really nice photos, right? So how do you set yourself apart? And you guys, I've always appreciated this with you. And before we even became really close friends, I started coming here. We met years ago, and I'm always looking for. I can fix a lot of things. I know nothing about cars, engines. I can change a tire, or I used to be able to change a tire. Now that they got the lock nuts on them and everything, it's a little bit more challenging. Oil, I used to change oil. I don't even bother with it anymore. Once I found you guys, it was one of those just comfort things. I knew the experience. I knew that whatever issues I had, you guys would find it. You guys would let me know, hey, see this coming up, next to, oil changes, you're going to want to do this, right? It's conversation, it's education, right? You're educating me. You're not trying to sell me stuff. You're just, hey, here's a heads up, right? And I always appreciate that. Anytime we go on vacation, anytime we, my daughter down in Tennessee, car always comes here first, right? And it's because of that trust that has been built, right? That reputation you have, and call to action is not going to do that. Yeah, you could have that line of cars for $15 a car, which, yeah, when you boil it down, you're not making that much money, but it looks cool to have all those vehicles out there and all those customers. I did the same thing, before I worked with before I hired this business coach, specifically, a photography business coach. I was shooting, I think when I first worked with her, I was at, I think, 160 sessions a year, right? And for me, I'm very particular about when I shoot, and a lot of my stuff was outdoors, natural light, stuff like that. So I would only shoot one, if I had to, 2 sessions, a day. Well, a lot of that came in the fall, right? Senior photos, family photos, Christmas cards, stuff. And so I remember that month of October, I think I did 65 sessions in 30 days or 31 days, whatever.
Insane.
It was, my wife never saw me.
Because then the editing too is huge.
Absolutely. For every session, there's, at least 4 or 5 hours of editing, and before the session, there's at least, an hour, 2 hours of communication.
And that's a big thing too that people don't understand, because they think that they can maybe just go and take the same photo on their cell phone. But the reality is there's really a lot that goes into that, understanding the client and then taking the photo in the right location, in the right pose. And I'm sure there's a ton of anxiety that goes into it, right? Who really likes their picture taken?
Absolutely.
Unless you're like beautiful, like Nicole, and,
right.
and
but
she,
even the beautiful people still don't think they're photogenic. And, and you're sitting here like, I hate you,
Yeah.
You got like the best smile. It's actually funny. Like with especially high school seniors, I find kids that have had braces, they're less likely to smile with their teeth because they've learned, they've just got them off maybe for a year or two. And they've taught themselves how not to smile with their teeth because they didn't want to show their braces. So
just a big mouthy smile, big lippy smile.
And so now, they keep their lips together. They kind of smirk. And I'm like, and I can always tell who's had braces, right? Because every kid now has great teeth. And I'll ask them, I'm like, you have braces? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I can tell because you've taught yourself not to use your teeth to smile. And hey, mom's standing over there. She paid a boatload of money. She wants to see those teeth, but then it's the kids that, have the perfect teeth. And I'm like, did you have braces? She's like, no. I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. Like everybody should go through that. But to your point, 160 sessions, I wasn't charging enough. Right? I was getting people in. They weren't the right clients. Yeah. They paid and, I made money. But what I did and what I found with working with my coach was I had to really up my value. And you can't just increase your price for no reason, right? I ended up putting a lot more time in per client. For any session, you and I work together, there's probably on average about 20 hours to 30 hours per client.
Setting up and everything. You have all the scaffolding and tarps and backdrops and you have all kinds of everything.
I've got everything for every situation, right? It's not that I use that for everything. I don't use the scaffolding and the big backdrops for everything. I use that for mainly my media day stuff. But just the communication, the email marketing, as I said earlier, the education, right? I want people to understand what they're getting into before they work with me, right? I want them to have an understanding. I don't want anything to be a surprise. I don't want the price of a canvas, to come as a surprise to them, when we're doing our design consultation. Less surprises make for happier customers, right? When they know what's coming and they know what to expect, it's normal, right? It's an easier conversation.
Yeah. Faber, your day job, you're a teacher.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what you teach?
Yeah, I teach high school business, which is awesome because and this is my second year up at the high school teaching this. I was elementary for 22 years, and which I loved. But then I got a taste of, high school and teaching something that's right in my wheelhouse and something I'm learning more and more of every single day. And so I get to really connect with the kids and teach them through my experience, not my successes by any means. It's all about my mistakes.
Oh my gosh. I think that's the thing too. It's like when you look at Instagram and everything, it's somebody's highlight reel. You see them in person, you're like, that's not even the same person.
Right,
They don't even look that way. Never mind the story of their life is in a lot of cases totally different. And so I don't know a single business owner anywhere that doesn't have a list far more abundant of failures than they have of successes. You really only learn how to get good at what you're doing by taking a lot of hits, over and over. And so what do you see as like the biggest issue that kids are seeing in your school as you're beginning to teach them about business? Like, what is the biggest constraint that they have in trying to figure out what they want to do or how they want to do it? Because I mean, I'm in my 40s. I still don't know what I want to do yet.
Right. Yeah. There's people I see, a friend of mine that's got, a Sprinter van. They're out in Baja, Mexico right now. They're on the peninsula.
Just cruising around.
Like, man, I want to be you when I grow up. And they're like 5 years younger than me. Right now, what I see is the disconnect is the relatability. They don't understand at any point, they're 15, 16, up to 18 years old. They don't appreciate the fact that they can start a business right now, right? And they can get something off the ground. And I think a lot of them, the thing with public schools is that there's a lot of push to college, right? A lot of push to, you got to keep going and, more education. We don't put enough value into experiential education, right? They just learn, they get scared of failure, right? They get scared of making mistakes because, as grades go on, the more mistakes you make, the harder it is for your grades to, be an A or a B, right? So they're naturally inherently nervous about failure. And you can't be, you have to, you have to welcome it. You have to embrace it. You have to know that you're most likely going to screw something up.
Fail forward if you need to.
Fail forward. It's not about getting, whether you're going to get hit or how hard you can get hit or how hard you do hit, right? Rocky, Rocky Balboa, whatever that movie was. It's like one of the greatest lines ever, right?
Yeah.
It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and get back up and keep moving forward, right?
Yeah. That is business.
That's business. You got to be okay. And it's so much easier to say than it is to do. You have to be okay with people telling you no. That no, I'm not going to work with you. No, or people ghosting you, and it's just normal, right? It's part of it's part of the job.
It literally is part of the job. Yeah. I think when I was younger too, I was obviously more impressionable, and I think that like my circle was bigger too. I was more social. Now it's all about either I go to the gym with Nicole at 6 a.m. and then I go to work, and then from there I pick up the kids every day from school and we have supper, and my life is a little bit different now. But at the time I used to care more about, I think, what people would think too, well, if I put this thing online, somebody's going to judge me for it, or somebody is going to, and I'm not even saying anything off color. They might compare me to somebody else's business or something. Right. And so it would make me very hesitant to want to try to come out of my comfort zone. Even now, I'm not a social media person, but for totally different reasons. I just don't see the point in it personally. I'd rather have it for business. Even this podcast, you were like, when you do this, you gotta put it online. I'm like, no, we're not, we're just not going to.
You have to.
Yeah. My motivation for that is not, I don't feel like I need to be out there in that way. I just don't, on my own social media. I think if you looked at my Facebook or something like that, you'll see a birthday post and then last year's birthday post and prior, I don't really, there's not a whole lot going on with me that I really feel the need to share. If I do, it's in a targeted platform like this where we can talk and have good conversation with good people and, try to help people with different business stuff. I don't necessarily like it. And I know that a lot of people can relate to that because most people, even at the back of their mind, they're concerned with what somebody else is thinking. And one thing I can promise you is that they're thinking about you a lot less than you're thinking about them.
100%. But on the other side of that, there's a lot of people out there that you're like, man, don't you realize what this makes you look like?
Yeah.
You should maybe worry a little bit more about what other people think. But to your point, exactly, right? And then going back to branding, one of the big messages I have and my overarching goal is I want these kids to realize, and high school kids to whatever age you are, your social media, your presence, it doesn't have to be connected to a business. You're building a personal brand, right? You're branding yourself, right? If you're out there showing all this stupid stuff you're doing, if you're a young kid and you're showing yourself drinking, then that's part of your brand. Right. And that's part of that trust and reputation. And the kids, they can't grasp that. Right. If we were to look back and thank God we didn't have social media. When
Oh
we
my
were younger,
gosh.
right? Like
My 20s, my goodness,
oh,
dude.
man. I don't know.
The only thing the same about me
yeah.
now in my 40s, my 20s is my name. I think that's about the only thing that's like the exact same.
No, it's scary to think about. Like these kids are everything they put out there. They don't have that filter that, we have now with, that's come with experience and come with age. But you can tell kids, hey, don't put inappropriate stuff on Facebook or well, they don't use Facebook, Instagram, Snap, and TikTok and all that stuff. But instead, like I'm trying to take the angle of, listen, like every interaction you have starting now, going back to the beginning of the year, every interaction is a potential job interview, right? Like the person sitting next to you, you don't know where they're going to be in 10 years. You don't know if you're going to be looking to hire them or they're going to be looking to hire you. You don't know if I'm going to be looking to hire you in 5 years, but I'm going to remember how you act. You better believe I'm going to be looking at your social media, right? And I'm not just looking at the last.
We look at social media all the time when we're hiring. Absolutely.
Now, do you if some of your hiring has like a private account, do you like require that you have access to it?
No, I don't necessarily go that far. From there, it's just vetting them in the interview. I think we've had enough of them, and I've had enough conversations with people where you could typically get a pretty good read on them without having to see it. It's just the social media. In a lot of cases, it adds that extra layer. If they're putting out a lot of like stuff about their current job and how they hate it and these people all suck and all of this, like that's going to be a cancer in my culture, in my companies. Cause we don't hire, we hire people for who they are, right? We hire based on attitude, aptitude, and ethics. And then we give them the time, tools, training, and accountability to be successful. You must have those first three, right?
Yeah, you don't get the tools and the training without
because
the pre-qualifiers.
because there's a cost.
Yes.
There's such a cost to doing what we're doing. One, in general, it slows the business down. Two, they're going to have problems that are typically costly. And then three, like you're putting somebody with them in the business and you're paying that person for a production role to deal with customers. And there's only so much bandwidth and time. And so they have to sacrifice something to help teach this new person to do something. And we want to make sure that we have good, solid people in our companies, because at the end of the day, I guess at the beginning of the day, when I started the company, it was just me. I was the one-man shop. I would answer the phones, do the marketing, do the books, and work on the cars. And if needed, go get parts. It was kind of just me. And then as it began to evolve, there's a lot of families and people and everything. I mean, with all the companies that we have now and all the people that we have working for us, that's a lot of goals, and for me, I really internalize those goals. And we also want to make sure too, that when people see our staff out places and they're wearing our logos or our shirts, that they're not like, oh, you work there or something,
right.
It's, I don't know, you want them to take a sense of pride in what they're doing, and they should feel good in the community. And you do a ton of public service with your photography and with your media businesses, and same with us, and a lot of that is all about making sure that what we're doing is giving back to the people that continuously give back to us, but also putting out a really high quality message, because we want a high quality customer in return. Not necessarily that we're doing something, not necessarily that we're going to do something charitable because we're looking for anything back. I mean, we ultimately want customers to always come in, but we feel good about giving back. And when you're doing that, you want it to not look like it was put together with a shaky, crappy cell phone and everything else. You want it to be honest, genuine, and also look good.
Yeah, and ultimately, I'll go back to it again. It's education, right? You want to educate them as to what your brand is, right? The kind of people you are. You give back. You do this. You go above and beyond, right? You're out in the community, right? That's not hey, I'm helping you out, so why don't you sign up for a session with me or sign up to bring your car in? It's building that brand. It's building that trust, that educating as to who you are as a person, which goes into what kind of business you are.
What advice would you give to a business owner that's just starting out now?
Build brand, build your reputation. Don't worry about getting sales. And you know what? Do a lot of stuff in person. We're in a very digital age, and we're very AI right now.
Everything is AI now.
But as quick as AI's come in, we've realized how much we appreciate face-to-face and shaking hands and seeing people, right? And talking to people. So don't dismiss the idea of putting yourself out there in the community, going to trade shows or going to community events, and not trying to sell, but just trying to introduce yourself, right? And try to learn, learn from people around you.
Meet people. Shake. I've always said this. You are not a business owner until you have gone out there and you have shaken 10,000 hands.
What do you do after you shake 10,000 hands?
Go get 10,000 more.
There you go.
And just keep shaking hands all day. You as a business owner are a people collector. You are collecting good employees, good people, right? Attitude, aptitude, ethics. You're collecting good people. You are collecting good customers. And your people will respond well to your customers will respond well to them, and you're collecting vendors all the time. You are constantly collecting people all of the time. And so, Faber, can you tell people how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can check out my website, robfaberphotography.com. I'm also on Instagram at robfaberphotography. And I'm sure I'm on TikTok and Facebook under probably the same things to search.
You're on all of them. You're
on all of them.
Faber, you are definitely the most talented photographer that I have ever met. You're
that.
Absolutely incredible, and I appreciate everything that you do for us. And so, the goal with all of this is not necessarily more leads. It's better customers, better conversions, and a business that's built on trust instead of chasing volume. And so you want high quality so that you can reinvest back into your people and you can reinvest back into your business. And that's going to be one of the keys of ultimately self-sufficiency in your business. You cannot have self-sufficiency if you can't reinvest back into the company in all those ways.
And I love what you just said, because I don't know if you're talking about your business or my business, but it doesn't matter because it's the same for every business.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Thanks for listening to Owner Optional. If you want to learn more how we help shop owners build businesses that don't depend on them, visit lotuspe.us. That's lotuspe.us. We'll see you in the next episode, and thank you so much for listening.